by 4 to 1, people want a gambling tax to deal with child poverty. They would say the same roughly if it was other polls say banks should pay something to tackle child poverty. And the other poll that is published in a few days ago said that if the government had not, by the end of its term, seen child poverty reduced, that would be as bad as not seeing waiting lists reduced. And I know the government is rightly committed to achieving both of these aims, and we must help them do so. And I know that the government wants to see living standards rise, and the one group of people who have suffered the biggest cut in living standards is the poorest families in our country, partly because of the two-child rule. I know the government wants to have a budget that is about fairness, and there is no group that deserves fairer treatment than those people who have suffered over these last 15 years. And I know that the government's budget is about the long-term future, and we know that the best investment in the long-term future of this country is to invest in those third of the children, almost half our future, who have been denied the ability to succeed at school at the moment because they're ill-equipped to go to school because of poverty in their family. For 2 million children to be in the deepest of poverty, that's less than 40% of median income, for 2 million children to be in that position, a 50% rise in the last 10 years, as a result of a number of policies I'm just going to mention, is something that is shameful. It is a scar on the soul of our nation. It's a stain on the conscience of our country. It's obviously the scourge of young lives. And it is a scandal that so little is talked about it in our national media when so much is going wrong for so many families who are hidden from the public eye, and yet their condition is so serious. When you know now that there are 1 million children who are trying to sleep tonight without a bed of their own, when you know that there are 2 million children in this country who are in a home that either doesn't have a washing machine or a fridge or a cooker to get hot and fresh food, or doesn't have the toiletries like soap and shampoo and toothpaste that make for a decent life, when we know from a survey that there are 3 million children that are having to skip meals because there's not enough food in the house, and when we have this shocking figure that there are now 4.5 million children in poverty, the biggest, highest figure for 60 years, higher than even under the Thatcher major years, then it's got to be said that if a child poverty action group did not exist, it would have to be created today to deal with these injustices and inequalities in our society that have got to be addressed. Children going to school ill-clad and hungry, I see it in my own former constituency where I live. Families having to choose between heating, eating and keeping clean. Mothers after a back-breaking work, and I've seen it, having to queue up at food banks to get food just to make ends meet for the children. And it's the two-child rule that is responsible for every year the numbers of children in poverty rising as 50,000 or more children are born into poverty, and the rest of the family is also in poverty as a result of that, because the money that was available for 2 children is now having to be used for 3 children. And I obviously want to see an end to the two-child limit and the two-child rule. And even a former Conservative minister, Lord Freud, who piloted the bill through the House of Lords that actually introduced the two-child rule, even he was later to say that the two-child rule was vicious and it was excremental. And he said that in a speech in 2023. And without abolishing the two-child rule, the government will not meet its target to have poverty coming down at the end of the Parliament lower than at the beginning.